The USMCA was established in August of 2017 due to the fact that President Donald Trump wasn't content with the past trade agreement of NAFTA. This new trade agreement between North America will affect the automakers globally due to the fact that they are now required to use the 75% of North America parts made in cars in order for them to be imported with no taxes. Additionally, 40% of motor vehicles need to be manufactured in factories where workers can earn minimum of $16 per hour. Another important factor established in the agreement is that Mexico needs to allow workers to form a collective bargaining units which supports an union-friendlier environment. Finally, the agreement exempts Mexico and Canada from potential future tariffs imposed by the U.S. of some motor vehicles and auto parts. Having this in mind, we can infer that this impact of the UMCA has increased the production of costs in North America automakers, specifically in Mexico, as they typically pay workers much lower wages than those in the USA and Canada. Consequently, the cost of manufacturing auto parts will increase in Mexico, will lose competitiveness, and had in terms offering cheaper labor and lower production cost. Furthermore, USMCA encouraged automakers to manufacture more car parts in the North America rather than overseas, which will drive up production costs, will be less reliance in inexpensive parts sourced by other countries.
A supply chain can be defined as a network between companies with their suppliers to produce and distribute the products or services offered to their clients. Chain disruption can happen due to different causes, and as Dr. Novak explains, when you look at disruption, there are two things you have to take into consideration. First, what is the probability, and second, what is the severity. Today's companies are facing one of the least common but most alarming causes, a pandemic, and it is time to understand what the consequences and the challenges companies are facing because of it. The fact that the probability of this disruption to happen is so little has prevented companies from properly preparing for it. This means that it's not only severe because of its own characteristics, but also because of the lack of preparation the market has had regarding to it. On the other hand, if we talk about severity the disruption has by itself, we can attribute its massive negative impacts in the supply chain to the number of people, regions, and global companies it has reached, restricting operations at every stage of the production line. Due to COVID-19, supply chains globally have experienced negative impacts and disruption. As a study from the Institute for Supply Management shows, approximately 75% of a total of 620 surveyed businesses have experienced disruption in their supply chain due to COVID-19. Additionally, 57 say that the lead times had increased from other suppliers in China, which is highly important due to the role this country has when it comes to global trade, not only as a consumer but as a producer. All over the world, companies have experienced these effects that the pandemic has brought, facing increased risk of trade wars, protectionism measures, shortage in materials and critical sectors, and changes in consumer demands. On the other hand, it has also accelerated trends such as e-commerce, automatization of processes, and reshoring manufacturing, which means bringing back manufacturing and services to the place of origin.
Due to the different situation it has brought, and due to the preparation each company had, or didn't, before, supply chain risk management and business continuity strategies, there are three situations in which almost all of them are. 1. Prepare to mitigate. These are companies who had already developed and implemented supply chain risk management and business strategies by diversifying their supply chain, multi-source key commodities, and stockpile inventory. 2. Prepare to respond. These companies have not only built strong relationships with its key suppliers, but have also studied their extended supply network in order to understand the threats and specific actions that can be taken for each of them. They have developed agility when it comes to their production and distribution networks and have invested in supply chain planning and control tower solutions to be able to come faster with a response. 3. Scrambling. These companies were not prepared and were very reliant on a single geographic supplier, lacking visibility, system, stockpile, and flexibility. They are now in crisis due to a pandemic and are very likely to close business. But will this last forever? At a high level, economists believe that there will be limited medium to long-term impacts on most industries, but that overall growth trends will remain fundamentally unchanged. However, in the short term, there appear to be more visible and large impacts, mainly because of the consumer sector, which is highly limited, and which will stop contributing to economic growth as it used to. As we saw at the beginning of the year, catering, retail, and traveling services, which experienced tremendous cash flows, pressure due to declining sales and high fixed costs. So, what's being done or what needs to be done? Educate employees on COVID-19 symptoms and prevention, enforce precautionary measures, increase remote work policies and flexible workplace arrangement aligned to IT systems, develop a treasury plan for cash management, adapt to new trends and demands, implement an efficient risk management and disaster response plan. Meaning that all companies have to take different measures based on their geographical, economic, and social situation in order to be able to minimize the negative impacts and even benefit from this global health crisis.
An original equipment manufacturer, OEM, is a company that dedicates to the manufacturing of parts from another company's products. And in the case of the automotive industry, companies use OEMs for the acquisition of auto parts to be assembled. At the same time, these OEMs need to get their resources from another set of companies denominated Tier 1 and Tier 2. The difference between these two is that, in one hand, the Tier 2 is the name given to the companies that supply Tier 1 companies, which means that they are the base of the supply chain for the final product of the OEM. In addition, Tier 2 companies are usually smaller and less specialized than Tier 1. On the other hand, Tier 1 are the companies that produce the product that will be directed to the OEM for them to complete the process. They usually provide more specialized processes and higher standards.
The highly competitive automotive industry is currently going through various changes which are driven by social, economic, and technological disruptions, impacting new business models which are being adopted by OEMs and Tier 1 providers. This evolving competitive landscape is being driven by 10 main OEMs since 2017, which are Volkswagen, Renault, Nissan, Mitsubishi Alliance, GM Motors, Toyota Motors, Hyundai, BMW, Honda, Peugeot, Ford, and Daimler, who are leaders for some specific reasons, such as unit sold, global share, e-mobility, diversification, innovation, efficiency, following global trends within others. As for example, Volkswagen is considered as the leader of its industry, having sold 9.7 million units and having a European market share of 24.8%. They are the face of innovation and creating high-quality cars. Another example is Hyundai, which sold 970,000 units last year and currently has an annual worldwide share of 4.7%. The company is in the midst of a technological revolution and it aims to be the global leader in the automotive industry.